So how do you deal with naysayers? That's what I'm talking about on today's Good Life Project Jam session. One of the questions I get all the time is how do you deal with people who are constantly saying to you, that's stupid, that'll never work, why are you doing that, you're guaranteed to fail, when you believe in your heart is something that really matters to you. Believe it or not, it's something I deal with all the time. And sometimes it's the voice inside my head and sometimes it's the voices of other people. So I spend a lot of time trying to figure out, if you want to be an entrepreneur, an artist, anyone who brings to life something from nothing, you will have people in your life that look at you and think that you're anywhere from absolutely insane to a little bit nuts to visionary to a thought leader, and the spectrum all across everything. So the question is, who do you listen to? Who do you just completely forget about? And how do you figure out what the balance is there and still maintain a positive attitude, still go and do the things that you want to do and build and not be dissuaded to actually follow your own path? So here's what I try and do, and it doesn't always work for me, but when I can really kind of commit to it, I find that it works pretty well. The first thing is I don't just lump everybody together. The first question I ask is, who is this person? And should they actually matter to me? Should what they're saying matter to me? And the first big divide is something that actually came up with a conversation with Brene Brown. And I remember her saying clear as day to me when she was talking about all the criticism and how she sort of determines who to let in and who not to let in. And her answer was kind of along the lines of, if you are not also out there in the arena getting your ass kicked on a daily basis, what you have to say does not matter to me. And when she said that to me, it kind of blew my mind because I never really thought about it that way. And it comes from her whole last book. It comes from a quote, actually originally from Theodore Roosevelt. But it's a great first dividing line because it lets you separate out the people that are actually doing the type of stuff that you're doing, who can speak from a place of, I get it, who can speak from a place of, I'm out there taking risks, I'm engaging in life, I'm putting myself on the line, I'm being vulnerable, and I'm daring. So I understand what you're going through, and I can speak from that lens, rather than people who are off on the sidelines, not risking, not being vulnerable, not going out there, and then just judging anybody else who does. So if you're not actually out there doing the types of things that I'm trying to do, whether they're intelligent or not, whether they succeed or not, then the lens I try and bring is, okay, that's a first sort of cut about whether what you have to share with me is something that I should integrate into my decision-making process and into the way I feel about myself. Because you're gonna get criticism. You're gonna get people who constantly try and say, okay, no, tearing you down. You shouldn't be doing that, right? So that's kind of the first cut. And then there's another cut, right? So the next decision you have to make is, okay, the people who are out there, how do I deal with the people whose voices actually I should listen to? And when you really think about that, those are the people who generally fall under close friends, family, or mentors or advisors, people whose opinions you respect and you want. And the first question you've got to ask with that is, should I just knee-jerk reject what they have to say? You're not going to jettison these people from your life because even though people, it's so, I can't stand this, honestly, in the world of personal development and self-growth, there's this thing that says if somebody doesn't buy into what you want to do, if somebody is rejecting your path, you got to get them out of your life, get all negative voices out of your life. You need people like that in your life. Not everybody, but you got to figure out who are the people that actually have value to add to your decision-making process. And then who are the people, there are some people where it probably makes sense to jettison them from your process, your decision-making process. But there are other people who, A, you can't jettison, and B, you don't want to. So the people you can't are close friends, family who care about you, and mentors, and people who really actually, they care about what you're doing. And they're giving you input because it matters to them, and they want to see you flourish. Those are the people that you actually want to have a conversation with. You cannot jettison those people from your life because they're integral to your life, right? And there may be other people who you just don't want to jettison from your life because they're experts, because they really have domain knowledge that will help you a lot, and they disagree with you. They may not be that close, but you have the benefit of getting input from them, and you want that information. So with this group of people, the domain experts, the people who have gone before you, and the people who are really close to you, who are going to be part of your life for a long term, how do you actually work with people in that level who are saying, no, I think what you're doing is stupid. I think what you're doing is going to fail, right? So first, are they right? Are they right? So as an artist, an entrepreneur, a maker, a creator, we get so wrapped up in our own heads trying to just, because we want to buy so deeply into the fact that this vision, this thing, is the right thing. It's going to work. We feel it in our bones. But you know what? Sometimes we're wrong. Sometimes we're dead wrong. Sometimes we end up spending a huge amount of time, money, and energy building something that shouldn't be built. And it could be, weeks, months, years, decades I've seen later before you finally pull back and say, oh, all those people, I should have listened. So part of the thing is immediately trying to ask yourself, okay, where are these people coming from? And if somebody is out there and they've done this thing before you, or pieces of it, or they have real expertise in an area, and they're looking at it, ask them the question, what is your opinion based on? Not in a challenging, arrogant way like, well, what are your opinions based on? But in a real, curious way. Come from a place of curiosity. And if somebody says, nah, that sucks, it's stupid, you shouldn't do it. Curiosity, right? No, that's really interesting. I'm curious, tell me why you feel that way. Is it just intuition? Is it self-talk? Are you responding to data? Because the data from those people you want. It may be, bundled with criticism, but the data you want. So solicit that from people, right? And then listen to them. And try and just draw whatever you can that's going to advise you, and maybe you get really good information that may not shut down what you're doing, but it may change the direction of what you're doing, and that's good. You want that information. Now, what about the other group of people, your close friends, your family, those people where you're never going to walk away from them, they're a deep part of your life, but they are rejecting what you want to do, right? So what do you do with those people? And you believe in your heart, you've done the information now, you've done the research, you've done the data, you've done a whole bunch of little tests to experiment, and everything that you're doing is validating that you're on the right path. This thing is going to work, it's going to be amazing, it's going to serve you, it's going to serve other people, it will let you live in the world, create your art, and do what you're here to do. But those people closest to you are saying, no, it's stupid, it's not going to work, this is not what you should be doing. What do you do at that point? When it becomes kind of clear to you that people very close to you are saying things designed to tear you down, but you truly believe and you have good hard data that you are in fact on the right path. How do you handle that? It's a really tough scenario. It's very tough, but there's one sort of awakening about the psychology that underlies it that has helped me certainly in the past, and I think a lot of other people. It doesn't change people, it won't change the way they're responding, but it changes the way that you respond to them and receive them. It lets you understand why they're saying what they're saying. And that is this, that when you go out into the world and you take actions and you take risks and you make yourself vulnerable, you reject the status quo, you reject complacency to go and do something exceptional, extraordinary with your life, with your energy. And people who are very close to you don't do that. They live a life where they're not content with what they have, but they're so led by fear that they won't take action because they believe that if they do, they'll fail and things will be worse. When you take action, when you reject that status quo, if you succeed, then your success becomes manifest evidence that their decision not to risk, their decision not to be vulnerable, their decision not to take similar action is wrong. And that is a really, really uncomfortable place for them to be because they have to see that and it becomes something that they cannot then ignore. Because as long as they assume that if I go and do all these things, I'll fail, then they have a reason not to do it. But when you go and do similar things and you're similarly equipped in the world and you succeed, then your actions and your success start to prove their assumptions wrong. And that makes those people incredibly uncomfortable, continuing not to take action themselves. So it's almost like they're inadvertently rooting for you to fail, because if you fail, their assumptions about not making any changes are validated, and they can just keep on living the way that they want to live. And it's sad to know that so many people exist on the planet without living each day embracing meaning and embracing purpose, embracing things that matter, but it's the reality. So if you understand that you may have people around you who are just categorically rejecting your choice to actually step into and lean into life and build something bigger, and it seems like no matter what you do or what you argue, no matter how clear it's becoming through incremental success that this is valid and it's right, it's constantly naysayers, but these people are very, very close to you. You're not going to jettison them from your lives. You're not going to reject them. They matter. Shift your mindset and understand the psychology behind this is very likely not trying to tear you down. It's not about them, like absolutely just rejecting and truly not believing it, but they're responding to an internal fear which says, in that person's success, my assumptions are invalid. And me sitting on the couch becomes a really uncomfortable place. So I want you to fail so that I don't have to face my own choices. When you understand what they're really rejecting is their own choices, it allows you to receive what they're saying in a very different lens. It won't change what they're saying. They may continue to reject for a very long time until you actually become so openly successful at what you're doing that there's literally no way to look at this and say, well, that was stupid, although some people still will. So how do you deal with naysayers? Start out with that big divide, right? Is this person in the arena like you, or are they not? If they're not, what they say doesn't matter. Next level, if they're in the arena too, or if they are the people who you will never remove from your life, close friends and family, mentors, then you drill down to, do they have valid data that will in some way affect what I am doing and should affect what I'm doing? Listen to it, hear it, integrate it. And then people who just are saying no from a place of fear, understand that's where it's coming from and just allow it to move through you instead of sink into you and grind you down. I hope that's helpful. It's something that I continue to deal with on a fairly regular basis. And the more that you're out there in the world, putting yourself out there, building things from nothing, you will experience this too if you haven't already. I'm Jonathan Fields, signing off for Good Life Project.